The morning sun beat down on Camp Pendleton as 72-year-old Robert Martinez hobbled through the main gate on aluminum crutches, his left leg ending just below the knee. The security guard waved him through with a respectful nod, but the group of young Marines gathered near the commissary weren't as courteous. Their laughter started low, then grew louder as the old man made his way across the parking lot. One of them, a muscular corporal named Decker, mimicked the old man's gait while his buddies recorded it on their phones. Before we continue with this incredible story, I want to know where you're watching this from right now. Are you from the United States, Pakistan, India, the UK, or somewhere else in the world? Drop your country name in the comments because this story is reaching people everywhere. And if you think you know where this is going, hit that like button now. Because what happens next will leave you absolutely speechless. Robert heard the laughter but kept moving. He'd heard worse. He'd survived worse. His weathered hands gripped the crutches tighter as he made his way toward the base gymnasium, where a military fitness demonstration was being held for visiting high school students. Robert had been invited by his grandson, a fresh recruit who just completed boot camp. The boy had no idea about his grandfather's past. Robert never talked about it. Inside the gym, nearly 300 people filled the bleachers. The demonstration was impressive. Young Marines showcased their physical prowess through obstacle courses, combat demonstrations, and precision drills. Robert found a seat in the back, his crutches propped beside him. He watched quietly, his eyes taking in every movement with the practiced gaze of someone who understood what real combat looked like. Corporal Decker and his friends had followed the old man inside, still snickering. During a break, Decker approached Robert. He asked loudly, drawing attention from nearby spectators, what a crippled old man was doing at a military fitness event. Was he lost? Did he need help finding the retirement home? His friends laughed. Some of the high school students looked uncomfortable. Robert simply looked up at the young Marine and said nothing, his dark eyes steady and calm. That's when the gymnasium doors opened and a sharp voice cut through the space like a whip. Everyone snapped to attention. Lieutenant General Patricia Vasquez, a 3-star general and one of the highest-ranking officers in the Marine Corps, strode into the gym. She was there to address the students and offer closing remarks. But as her eyes swept the room, they landed on Robert sitting in the back row. Her expression changed instantly. The stern military bearing softened into something else entirely: shock, recognition, and profound respect. The general walked directly toward Robert, her heels clicking sharply on the polished floor. The entire gymnasium went silent. Every Marine present stood at rigid attention. Robert began to struggle to his feet, reaching for his crutches, but General Vasquez gently placed a hand on his shoulder, keeping him seated. She stood at attention in front of him and rendered a slow, deliberate salute. The kind of salute reserved for the highest honors. Think about this moment for just a second. This 3-star general just walked past hundreds of young Marines to salute an old man on crutches. Can you imagine what's going through Corporal Decker's mind right now? Comment below what you think is about to be revealed. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button because we share the most powerful military stories every week. Robert returned the salute. General Vasquez then turned to face the assembled crowd and asked if anyone present knew who this man was. Silence filled the gym. She looked directly at Corporal Decker, who'd gone pale, and asked if he'd like to guess. He stammered that he didn't know. General Vasquez's voice carried across the gymnasium as she began to speak. She said that the man sitting before them was Gunnery Sergeant Robert Martinez, call sign Ghost. The name hung in the air before recognition rippled through the older Marines present. Ghost, the legend. The Marine who'd been declared dead 3 times in official reports, only to walk out of enemy territory each time against impossible odds, the general continued. In 1968, during the worst days of Vietnam, then Sergeant Martinez had been part of a long-range reconnaissance patrol deep in enemy territory. His 6-man team had been ambushed by a force of over 40 North Vietnamese soldiers. Within the first minute, 4 of his team members were dead. Martinez and 1 other Marine, both badly wounded, had fought for 11 hours straight, surrounded and outgunned, He called in artillery strikes on his own position 3 separate times, each time surviving by mere meters. He'd killed 27 enemy soldiers that day, confirmed. He'd kept his wounded teammate alive, performing field surgery with a knife and paracord. And when extraction helicopters finally arrived at dawn, Martinez had carried his unconscious teammate 300 yards, through enemy fire to reach the landing zone, for his actions that day. Robert Martinez had been awarded the Medal of Honor. The general's voice wavered slightly as she described how Martinez had refused to leave the military even after losing his leg in 1972. He'd trained as an instructor and had personally trained over 2,000 Marines before finally retiring. His techniques were still being taught at boot camp. His tactical innovations had saved countless lives in Iraq and Afghanistan. The gymnasium was absolutely silent. General Vasquez turned back to Corporal Decker. She asked him directly if he had something he wanted to say to Gunnery Sergeant Martinez. Decker's face was red, tears streaming down his cheeks. He marched forward, stood at attention in front of Robert, and rendered a salute with shaking hands. His voice broke as he apologized. He said he'd been a fool, that he'd dishonored the uniform, and that he was ashamed. Robert looked at the young Marine for a long moment. Then he spoke for the first time, his voice gravelly but strong. He said that the corporal didn't need to apologize to him. He needed to apologize to himself and to the uniform he wore. He told Decker that the crutches, the scars, the missing limb, these were just part of the price some warriors paid. But they didn't define the warrior. What defined a warrior was honor, respect, and the understanding that every person you meet might be fighting a battle. You know nothing about. Robert explained that he'd spent 50 years watching young Marines like Decker, full of strength and pride, thinking that physical power was what made them Marines. But it wasn't. What made someone a Marine was the willingness to stand for something bigger than themselves, to respect those who came before, and to understand that weakness and strength come in forms you can't always see. He told them that they would face real combat someday, and on that day, they might find themselves wounded or watching their brothers fall. On that day, they'd understand that mocking someone's injuries was a betrayal of everyone who'd ever worn the uniform. The general added that Corporal Decker and his friends would be assigned to 30 days of service in the base's Wounded Warrior facility, where they would assist Marines recovering from combat injuries. They would learn firsthand what sacrifice looked like. The young Marines accepted their punishment without protest. After the ceremony ended, Robert's grandson found him outside. The young recruit had tears in his eyes. He'd never known his grandfather's history. Robert had never mentioned it, never displayed his medals, never told the stories. He'd simply been Grandpa, the quiet old man who came to every birthday and graduation. The boy asked why he'd never said anything. Robert smiled and told him that real heroes don't need to announce themselves. The medals in a drawer at home weren't what mattered. What mattered was living with honor every single day and understanding that everyone you meet is carrying scars you can't see. 6 months later, Corporal Decker requested a transfer to the Wounded Warrior Regiment, where he would spend the rest of his career helping injured Marines recover and reintegrate. He'd found his true calling through shame and redemption, learning that strength wasn't about what your body could do, but about how you treated those who'd sacrificed everything. This story teaches us something profound about respect and the danger of judging people by their appearance. Robert Martinez could have confronted those young Marines, could have announced who he was and demanded respect. But instead, he stayed silent and let his actions speak when the moment came. Real honor doesn't need to be proclaimed. It reveals itself when it matters most. If this story moved you, if it made you think twice about the assumptions we make, then hit that subscribe button right now. Share this video with someone who needs this reminder today. And tell me in the comments, have you ever misjudged someone only to discover who they really were? Your story might teach someone an important lesson. Until next time, remember that the strongest warriors often carry the quietest dignity, and the deepest scars are the ones we cannot see.